Who kidnapped Emanuela Orlandi? The Disappearance of Vatican Girl. Do you like mysterious stories? What if we tell you a real mysterious story? Do you want to examine the mysterious disappearance of a teenager? Who kidnapped her? What are the numerous conspiracies? Are you eager to know the questionable secrets of Emanuela? Don't know her? Well, you need to watch the Netflix docuseries Vatican Girl, The Disappearance of Emanuela. Well, here at Stalker Stories, we'll tell you all about it, so don't worry and make sure you stay tuned. Nobody knows what happened to Emanuela Orlandi after 37 years. Vatican Girl, The Disappearance of Emanuela Orlandi, a Netflix documentary series, attempts to consolidate competing hypotheses on what happened to Emanuela Orlandi on June 22, 1983. So let's talk a little bit about Emanuela to get to know her story better. Emanuela Orlandi was born to a devoutly Catholic family in Vatican City. She is the second youngest of 5 siblings. Emanuela and her family, who had served the popes for generations, made their home in a little country with a sparse population. Her siblings included Natalina, Frederica, Maria Cristina, and her brother Pietro. Her parents were Ercole and Maria Orlandi. Emanuela was a talented musician, playing both the flute and the piano. She was a choral singer as well. Emanuela got dressed and headed out the door on a hot summer afternoon so she could make it to her music class at Tommaso Ludovico da Vittoria School. Pietro Orlandi, her older brother, recalls that on that particular day she was running late to class and begged him to come with her. He still feels guilty about not enrolling Emanuela into her class. Emanuela vanished on the evening of June 22nd, and unusual phone calls began coming into the family's home. It has been speculated that Emanuela vanished due to a global conspiracy, while others have blamed the Vatican's refusal to provide certain documents. As of now, we don't know for sure what happened to Emanuela, but we do know that the 15-year-old was exploited as a pawn by the powerful. The Orlandi family was local to the papal state of Vatican City. Her dad was in the Vatican bureaucracy. Emanuela started on her piano lessons on June 22, 1983. Later, she called her mom and told her about how an Avon rep had approached her with an offer to start working in the beauty industry. Her sister suggested she go home and tell mom and dad what happened. Neither Emanuela nor her sister showed up when they were due to return. While her parents were planning to submit a report that evening, police felt it was not too soon to officially list Emanuela as missing. A missing persons report was filed after she failed to return the following day. The family put up a missing persons notice in the paper, complete with her contact information. Once that happened, they started getting a lot of calls. The vast majority were untrue, but one was crucial. It was Pierre Luigi on the other end of the line. In his account, he encountered an Avon salesperson by the name of Barbara near the music school. A second caller, who identified himself as Mario, mentioned seeing a female named Barbarella or Barbara who was selling Avon items and was part of a group that sold cosmetics and clothing. The child, he said, was upset because she didn't get up on stage and sing at the school assembly. This was crucial since Emanuela had a performance scheduled at that time for a school event. There are posters of Emanuela, who has gone missing all around Vatican City, left by her family. The international media paid attention when the Pope spoke to the Orlandi family, offering his solidarity and criticizing those responsible for the kidnapping. The Pope's message was puzzling. It was odd that he knew for sure that Emanuela had been stolen, and it was even stranger that he specifically asked the people responsible for the kidnapping to return her. A man identifying himself as the American called the family again after the Pope's speech. An Emanuela recording was performed by the American. When she called, her family immediately recognized her voice. The speaker continued, saying that Pierre Luigi and Mario were on his team. The group threatened to murder Emanuela if the Italian government did not release Mehmet Ali Agca before July 20th. Mehmet Ali Agca shot Pope John Paul II in St. Peter's Square in May 1981. Following his capture, he was shown to be a part of an ultra-nationalist Turkish far-right known as Grey Wolves, which has been responsible for numerous terrorist incidents. When news spread that Emanuela had been kidnapped to ransom Mehmet Ali Agca, it made international headlines. After his detention, he began cooperating with authorities and providing them with key details. He denied membership in the Grey Wolves, claiming instead that he had been trained by the KGB of the Soviet Union. Pope John Paul II was Polish and posed a significant challenge to the Soviet Union, thus it was not surprising that they would want him dead. The Soviets wanted Mehmet Ali Agha back once he began talking so they could treat him as they saw fit. Although it was already July 20th and Mehmet Ali Agha still hadn't returned, nobody had heard from Emanuela. The kidnapping did not appear to be the work of the KGB, according to a high-ranking officer of the Italian Secret Service. The kidnappers didn't have a plan, they were only using the threat of terrorism as a cover for something else, something that happened within the Vatican's walls. Mafia and Enrico de Pedis connection, Conspiracy 1. In 2004, a fresh witness appeared, requesting an investigation into Enrico de Pedis and the favor Renatino did for the Cardinal Paletti by the state news station. The Banda della Magliana was led by the infamous Enrico de Pedis. Enrico's death in 1990 left only his lover, Sabrina Minardi, with any information about Emanuela. Emanuela Orlandi was replaced by Sabrina Minardi. Sitting in a stealthy BMW, she spotted her. Sabrina was requested to bring Emanuela to the home of Enrico de Pedis in Torvaianica for a few days. Emanuela was held captive for 11 days in that home, and at the time she was mostly under the influence of drugs. Sabrina reflected on her agonized moaning and sobbing. Sabrina was tasked with delivering Emanuela to the Vatican's gas station. One of the cars she saw was a black Mercedes with a Vatican license plate. A man who appeared to be a priest stepped out of the automobile. Emanuela was loaded into the automobile with the help of Sabrina. The man went off with Emanuela, and Sabrina came back. Enrico's explanation was that it was all about power, and made sense to her. Another Banda della Magliana commander, Mauricio Abatino, said he learned about the Emanuela Orlandi case in prison. He said it was financial. De Pedis' mafia money went to Vatican bank accounts and was never reimbursed. Enrico was his intermediary. The Vatican bank's money returned after laundering. After being shifted for profit from the Vatican Bank to Bank Ambrosiano, the mafia got it. Roberto Calvi's murder and the Bank of the Ambrosiano's tremendous loss severed the bond. The mafia kidnapped Emanuela to demand the Vatican repay some of their loans. Marco Eccetti linked to the conspiracy. Marco Eccetti claimed in a police interview that he was the American and that he was responsible for the artistic parts of Emanuela Orlandi's abduction. He claimed that Emanuela was tricked into believing that her father's job and home were in jeopardy if she did not provide the information. During the first 2 nights of the abduction, he held her at a cheap women's hotel and took her on walks. To hear Marco Eccetti tell it, the Vatican kidnapped Emanuela. It was a group of priests who did their work in the shadows. The group rejected the Pope's approach to the East in favor of dialogue as the best means of evangelization in Russia. There are doubts about Marco's story. Despite calling himself the American, he was missing vital facts. After watching TV and absorbing the specifics, he seemed to know how to fit into the case. Psychological evaluations charged Marco Eccetti with autocalumnia, which meant that Eccetti lied to the judge about his role. Marco Eccetti dated a 17-year-old girl while convicted of manslaughtering a 12-year-old. In asserting his identity as the American, Marco at last received the acclaim and admiration that he always had sought. The search for Emanuela and the truth of her abduction that unfolds is incredibly distressing. Over the years after her disappearance, there have been numerous leads holding some element of truth, but never the complete picture. And the search has lasted almost 40 years, and the main suspects in her disappearance continue to stonewall investigators and withhold information that could solve the case. That's it for today's video. We hope you enjoyed it. Please like and share and subscribe to our channel.